Hey guys, it's Paige and I have another tutorial for you today. Today I'm going to be working for the fictional company Dollhouse Dreams, and I'm going to show you how to quickly edit these images that were taken on a white background, and then I'm going to show you how you can use those images then to make really cool promotional graphics, and you can do this in just a few minutes. So this is something that you can add in to your workflow, and it's going to make things so easy for you because you can edit your images, make awesome promotional graphics for Etsy or Facebook or whatever, and we're doing it all using my action set. So here I have these 4 images that I took. This is the new line for Dollhouse Dreams. So we have new dolls and this little kitchen, and it's really cute. And so I have these all selected here in Adobe Bridge. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to right click on these, and I'm going to go to Open in Camera Raw. This is going to open them all in Camera Raw, and here I'm going to be able to batch edit the overall adjustments to this image. So this is one of the really awesome tools that the free programs don't have. It's the ability to batch edit, and batch editing means it saves you time, which means you're spending less time editing your images, you're spending more time creating and doing the stuff that you love and not spending your life behind a computer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this gray card image. So I took all of my images, I took the first image, with a gray card so I can easily sync up my white balance. I'm going to select all these images. I'm going to select the white balance tool dropper, and I'm going to click it over this gray card. And that's going to sync the white balance over these images. And now I just need to fix the exposure a little bit. Now the camera I took this with is a Olympus mirrorless camera. So a mirrorless camera is kind of like a digital SLR in that it has interchangeable lenses, but it doesn't have the mirror in the shutter like a digital SLR. So this is a really great, it's a great alternative to using, a digital SLR. They're a little bit cheaper, lenses are a little bit cheaper, but they are actually, performance-wise, they perform just as well as some of those consumer digital SLRs that are out there. So if you're looking for maybe an alternative, or you just want something smaller than a digital SLR, then I would have you look at some of the mirrorless cameras that are out there. Now to do this, I just used natural light, and I used a kit lens because I wanted to kind of replicate what a lot of people are working with, and a very simple setup. So I was using window light, I was using a couple pieces of foam board, and I used the kit lens that came with the camera. And the mirrorless camera I have, I will link in the post. It is an Olympus mirrorless camera, and it's $3.99 with the kit lens. So it's a good option to some of the consumer, like the Canon Rebels and the Nikon D series cameras. So I synced my white balance. Now I need to bump the exposure a little bit, and these are raw files. So since they're raw files, I can actually bring back some of that data. So these were a little underexposed because I was kind of limited by the aperture I could use with the kit lens, which was fine. So these were a little underexposed, and now I'm just bringing the exposure up a little bit, and I'm going to bring up the shadows a tiny bit. And you can see as I'm doing that, it's syncing those changes over these images, which is super awesome because that means I didn't have to go through and edit each of these individually. It just made those changes based on changing it on the one image. So now that I have a good overall exposure on my images, I can go ahead and I can select all these images. I don't need to open up the gray card image because I don't need to do anything else with that, but I can go ahead and open these images up in Photoshop. All right, so now my images are opened up in Photoshop, and I can go through and I can start making the adjustments to this. Before I get started though, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to fix up the area. I'm going to fix these areas here where my, I had a teeny tiny foam board and then a big foam board, and my white does not extend. So I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to duplicate this background layer, and I'm just doing that by pulling the background layer down to this new layer button. and that duplicated my background layer. You can also press Command J or Control J on your keyboard, and that will also duplicate a layer. Now I'm going to use Content Aware to get rid of this. So if you have an older version of Photoshop, you don't have Content Aware, probably. This is one of the reasons why I think it's so worth it to pay that $10 a month for Content Aware, because Content Aware is seriously the most amazing thing ever. Like, I don't know how I survived without it. So all I did was I used my polygon lasso tool here, and I just made a selection over that area. I'm right clicking and I'm clicking fill, and then I'm selecting Content Aware here, and I'm going to click OK. And what it's going to do is it's going to fill this area in with white. Whoops. And let me deselect there. Okay, so it filled that area in with white, and that looks pretty good. That was like super, super simple. I can do the same thing here. Let me duplicate my layer first. I like to duplicate my layer before I do any like cloning or Content Aware or anything like that on my images, because then it just makes sure that my background layer, this layer just stays clean. And I know that it's making like some like weird thing here. That's fine. We're gonna fix that, and I think most of that's gonna get cropped out anyway, so I'm not real worried about that. I just want it to be filled in with white, just to start before I start doing my other edits. Okay, and I'm not too concerned. We'll fix that in a little bit. But at least I don't have my table showing through. Okay, so now I'm going to go through and I'm going to start to make my my different adjustments. So I'm going to, since these are on white backgrounds, I'm going to play pop whites. Right, and that just made the whites nice and poppy. I'm going to pull down the opacity just a tiny bit because it did kind of blow out some of the areas, and I don't like that. So I'm going to pull down the opacity to about 80%. And then right over here, over this hood, I'm going to take my brush and I'm going to make it a black brush at about, let's say like 10% opacity. And we want to make sure that it's a nice soft brush at a hardness of 0. And the reason I use soft brushes and I use low opacity is that you want it to be a gradual change, so it kind of blends in to what you're doing. Now, when you press down on your brush, as long as you hold down, it's only painting at 10%. Once I let go of my brush and then I paint over, it's adding another 10%. So if you're finding that things are starting to look kind of blotchy, you're probably letting up on your brush too much. And you do that by you hold down on your mouse key and once you let up on your mouse key, it's going to let go of that brush and it's going to paint over another 10%. So you can see there that just brought back a little bit. I can't show you the before and after that, but it just brought it back a little bit of detail in that hood. Now I'm going to add a contrast boost to this. So I'm going to go ahead and do contrast boost. And that looks pretty good. Then I'm going to do crisp finish. And that just made the edges crisp. And that looks pretty good. Now I have these areas here where the boards met, and I want to soften those up a little bit. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm actually just going to go down to this background layer. And instead of doing, actually I'm going to go back to the background layer. I'm going to add a new layer above it. And instead of, doing anything too fancy, I'm just going to use my brush tool. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to make my brush small. I'm going to make the opacity around 30%. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to sample the color that I want to paint over this area to just kind of get rid of it. So I'm going to press the Alt key if you have a PC or the Option key if you have a Mac, and we're just going to brush over this. And my opacity is a little bit too high, so let's just bring it down a little bit. let's do about 15%. So, we want a big brush, sample this, and we're just going to brush over this area a little bit. Nice and soft. And then we're going to do the same thing here. We're going to sample and we're going to brush, just softening that up a little bit. Okay, and that looks good. So now I can go through and I can do the exact same actions on these other images. So I don't have to really think about it. I know that these actions are going to work. I can just make the same steps because these are all taken with, the same lighting and, same white balance and all of that. So again, we're going to play our pop whites. And we are going to do, we're going to pull down the pop whites a little bit. We're going to do the contrast boost. You can see here on the pop whites, again, it kind of overexposed that a little bit. So with my black brush, it's at like 15%. I'm just going to paint over her face a little bit. And that's just going to bring back some of that, that detail there. And it's a little bit too much here in the shirt a little bit too. So we're just going to paint over that a little bit too. Okay. And then, so we did our contrast boost. I'm going to pull the contrast boost down just a tiny bit too, to about 90%. And now we can do the crisp finish. I'm going to add this new layer here. I'm going to use my brush. I'm going to sample it, and I'm just going to soften up these lines a little bit. Okay. All right. And now we're going to go over to the kitchen, and we're going to do the same thing. So see how easy that makes it? Like, you don't really have to, like, once you edit one image, you're just batching it. Like, you're just doing, like, the same thing to the other images. And it's just, like, you no longer have to think about it. Like, you took all the images at the same time, so you know, like, what you need to do to all the images. Okay, and crisp finish. And just clean up that background a little bit. And some of this is going to be cropped when I use this. Okay, so now I have my 3 images and I'm ready to make some graphics. So the first thing I want to make is I want to make a cute Facebook profile image and a Facebook cover image introducing our new line. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go into the Product Shop Pop web templates, and there are all kinds of different templates for all kinds of stuff. So there's, Etsy, Instagram, Facebook. These are really awesome. So I'm just going to go ahead and go to the Facebook cover. I'm going to go ahead and press play. It's going to create a new document for me. So now I have this document and I can find the image that I want to use on it. I'm going to use this one of the kitchen and the girl. Now I need, I could pull all these layers over, but there's an easier way to do it. I'm going to go down back to just the Product Shop Pop actions. I'm going to go under bonus actions and I'm going to go to make a flat layer. And what this is going to do is it's going to make a flat layer of all of the changes that I made. And it does this without flattening the entire image, so I can still go back and make changes to the image if I need to. So now that I have my flat layer, I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to right click, and I'm going to convert it to a smart object. By converting it to a smart object, I'm making a layer that I can resize without it losing its quality. So now I'm going to take this flat layer that I converted to a smart object, and I'm going to just go over my Facebook cover image. We're going to pull it on there. So it's really big. We need to zoom out a little bit. We're going to go to our move tool, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to just resize this. I'm doing this by pressing shift down on my keyboard. By pressing shift on my keyboard, I'm making sure that it's maintaining its aspect ratio. So now I have that there. We're going to go fit that to full screen there. And now I'm going to move this over a bit to the edge here. And now I want to make this part of the image blend in to the rest of the white here. And I'm going to actually make this just a tiny bit smaller. Okay, I like that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a mask. So this is the mask button, and this is going to add a mask to my smart object. I'm going to take my brush, a nice soft black brush at 15% opacity here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to start brushing over this, which is going to mask this off, and it's going to make this blend in to the white here. And see how that just blends in, and it looks like this is just, you know, sitting here on our cover image. So that's really awesome. So now I'm going to add some text, and we're going to use, let's see, this. Oh, whoops. Let me change the text so you can actually see it. We'll sample a color from the doll here. That looks good. Okay. And I think it's going to be too big, so I'm going to change the font. Okay, so now we're cooking up something new, and I can just size this and here, and then I can put something about the new fall line. Okay, and then if I wanted, I could go ahead and place our logo in here too. So we could just go to File, Place Embedded, and I'm going to find the logo that I created just for this, for my fake company. So here's the PNG of my logo. And we can move this in here. And there we go. So that was really simple, really easy, and now we have a Facebook cover image. So now let's make a cute little image for Instagram. So we're going to go up to our the web actions, and we're going to make a let's make an Instagram horizontal image. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to use just our doll image. So I'm going to do the same thing I did with the kitchen image. I'm going to go and I'm going to make a flat layer. I'm going to convert it to a smart object. I'm going to take the smart object and I'm going to pull it over into the Instagram image. We're going to zoom out here and use our move tool to resize our doll. All right, and let me fit this back on the screen. Okay, and I'm going to do the same thing I did before with this. And I'm going to add this mask here, and then using my brush, I'm just going to blend this in to the white. All right, so that's faded into the white, and we're going to do and we can make the font bigger. And we can add our font or our logo and place it on there. And there you go. So now we have this cute little image for Instagram. So that's how you can edit your images, you can make promotional graphics, and you can do this all at once. And we could go through and we can make even more promotional graphics, but it makes it super easy because anytime you're editing your images, it's always a good idea to make, promotional graphics or do whatever as you're doing it. Because if you're just doing it all at once, you're going to get it all done, you're going to have it all saved, and you're just not constantly on your computer. So just make that part of your workflow. I hope that was helpful, and I hope that you enjoyed this tutorial. Hi, it's Paige. Before you go, if you want more videos, don't forget to share, subscribe, and like. If you want to find exclusive videos and content, join our Facebook group. Let's be friends.